Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna to all of you. I thought before starting chapter number 18, we can do a summary of Bhagavad Gita as it is chapter 1 through 17, so that we are well prepared when we start chapter number 18. Now, we all are aware, I'm sure all of you who are on Zoom and Facebook probably know that Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Lord Krishna. And it happened in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where the religious brothers, Pandavas, were fighting against the irreligious Kauravas. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita that this scripture, Bhagavad Gita, is of course the essence of all the Vedic literatures, but it is also an owner's manual. And in this Bhagavad Gita, Krishna covers 5 subject matters: who is God, the spirit soul, material nature, karma, and eternal time. So it's only karma that is changeable, but all the other 4 are eternal. Many times people ask, what is the meaning of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad means Bhagavan, that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And Gita means song. That means this book, Bhagavad Gita, is a song of the Supreme Lord. Now, if the Bhagavad Gita refers to Krishna as Bhagavan, not Krishna Uvacha. It doesn't say Shri Krishna Uvacha. It states Shri Bhagavana Uvacha, so that we can understand who is speaking. It is Bhagwan. Bhaga means opulences and Van means possessor of the opulences. And to be able to understand the Supreme Lord Krishna himself, we have the Bhagavad Gita, which is like a mother that is giving us knowledge about the Father. Now, Srila Prabhupada says that if we want to understand Bhagavad Gita, we should understand it scrutinizingly, not just randomly, chapter by chapter, but hear it from a devotee who is not only knowledgeable about it, but also is practicing the Bhagavad Gita and who has no, does not make any interpretations, does not put their own opinions. In fact, if we understand Bhagavad Gita like Arjuna understood from Lord Krishna, then we'll get the maximum benefit. The Srimad Bhagavatam states, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, means now inquire about the absolute truth. Now means now, not when I get old or not after 10 years or 20 years. No, now is a time to inquire about the process of self-realization. Krishna wants us to use our philosophical intelligence and inquire. Not accept anything on blind faith, but inquire what is the purpose of human life. Inquire what is this Bhagavad Gita all about. In fact, it is stated that the Bhagavad Gita has the all the important points of the Vedas condensed in these 700 verses. Now, Krishna was speaking this Bhagavad Gita. He was actually re-speaking the Bhagavad Gita. It was spoken 120 million years ago to Sun God Vivaswan. But here, 5,000 years ago, he is repeating it. Why? Yogo nashtaha parantapa. He says because this knowledge is gradually getting destroyed. Now, Srila Prabhupada is a Sanskrit scholar and he's coming down in strict disciplic succession. So whatever purports he has given us in the Bhagavad Gita as it is, they are very, very much according to what Lord Krishna is speaking in the Bhagavad Gita. So how should we hear Bhagavad Gita? With an open mind, right? Like a clean slate. Find answers to all the questions and What will be the end result? Many times people say, what's in it for me? Why should I do something? So Prabhupada explains, if one hears Bhagavad Gita with an open mind and gets the answers to all the questions, the end result will be person will be content, he will be happy, and he will be peaceful. Content means completely satisfied, is not hankering for anything. Now, the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita starts with confusion. Arjuna is confused. He is in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a dharmakshetra, place of religion, and he doesn't know what to do because on the opposite side are his cousins and relatives and grandfather and spiritual master. What should he do? So he's lamenting. And in chapter 2, that is where Krishna starts speaking the Bhagavad Gita. Excuse me. Now, chapter 2 is basically, you can say it's a summary of the Bhagavad Gita. At the same time, the foundation of spiritual life, foundation of Bhakti Yoga. Because in 22 verses in chapter 2 itself, Krishna explains to Arjuna, you are not this body, excuse me, you are the spirit soul. Excuse me. So, main thing to understand is I am not this body. Dehi noasmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namoyati. Krishna says that as the embodied soul, which means the soul is trapped in the body, as the embodied soul continuously passes from boyhood to youth to old age, similarly, the soul passes on to another body at the time of death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So, difference between body and soul is being explained in chapter 2. And of course, Prabhupada explains in his purpose the difference between the gross body and the subtle body. So there are two bodies here. There is the gross body, which we can see, and the subtle body, which is inside the heart, which comprises of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So, if we can somehow or the other change our consciousness from body consciousness to soul consciousness, we will be very happy. Now, chapter 3, Krishna talks about karma yoga, very popular subject matter. Many times people talk about different kinds of yoga. So, here it's karma yoga, where he explains the difference between karmas. There is karma, akarma, and vikarma, different types. And in the middle of the chapter, he states, Yagnarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tad artham karma kantya mukta sangha samachara. He says, work, whatever karma we are doing, actions, our work, if it is done as a sacrifice unto the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Krishna, then one becomes free. Otherwise, one stays in bondage. If we start working for our sense gratification, then the problem is we will keep getting entangled. And then he also says, Yagna Shishtashinashanto Muchyante Sarvakilbish Bhunjate Tve Agam Papam. Papam we all know. Papam means sins. So the everything has to be performed for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. He says, when we even eat, the food that we eat, if we do not offer it to the Supreme Lord before eating, then that also causes bondage. Because if we are eating food which is not offered, we are eating sin, papam. That is what he says. Very important, chapter 4. Of course, all chapters are very important, but chapter 4 talks about the history of the Bhagavad Gita. You see, Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam. Krishna says, I spoke this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. He says spiritual science. He doesn't calls it a religious book that I gave this religious knowledge to sun god. No. He says it's a spiritual science. Right? Imam Vivasvate Yogam. It's a spiritual science. And he says Evam parampara praptam. So it has to be received in strict disciplic succession. When we receive it in, the guru parampara, then the authenticity of the data is maintained. That means the spiritual master is giving the same knowledge to the student as it was received from his spiritual master, his guru. So the whole line goes up all the way to Krishna. So it's very important to hear Bhagavad Gita from a certified teacher. By the way, I'm certified, in case you don't know. So if we hear Bhagavad Gita in the strict disciplic succession, then we get the full benefit of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, chapter 5, again, Karma Yoga. Krishna says action in Krishna consciousness, which means all the activities that we perform, we have to understand every action has a reaction. Every action. So we need to be mindful of our activities. So again, Krishna is talking about Karma Yoga because it's very, very important. Whatever we are doing, so whatever happiness or distress we have right now is based on our past karma that we cannot change. We have already performed those actions, but we can definitely improve our future, right? By how? By changing our present. Whatever actions we perform now is going to affect our future. So Krishna says that we need to perform actions in his consciousness, which means work according to his instructions. Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gavi Hastini. Krishna says that we have to become a samadarshinaha. We have to become one with equal vision. Look, any entity that we see, living entity, whether it is human beings, animals, birds, insects, reptiles, whoever it may be, all living entities have a soul and a super soul in their body. So when we see everyone with an equal vision, then we become a learned person. And of course, towards the end of chapter 5, Krishna gives us the peace formula because he knows people in Kali Yuga are not peaceful. They are looking for peace, they are looking for happiness. And so he gives the formula how to be peaceful. He says, Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwara Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Gnatva Mam Shantim Richati. Shanti means peace. When we want peace, then we need to understand Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam, that Krishna is the Bhokta. He's the enjoyer of everything, of all the activities that we perform. He is the enjoyer and he is the Lord of all of us. It includes the demigods also. Sarva Loka Maheshwara, Maha Ishvara. That means he is above everybody else. He is the Supreme Lord. And then when we change our consciousness to Krishna consciousness and understand he is the Supreme Lord and he is the enjoyer of all the actions, that is when we will become peaceful. Now, chapter 6 is Dhyana Yoga, which means meditation. Why is Krishna giving this knowledge? Because we see in this material world, people are crazy about yoga, right? Yoga, it doesn't matter what kind of yoga, whether it is hot yoga, chair yoga, or whatever it is. But the most important is bhakti yoga. So there's this yoga ladder, karma yoga, dhyana yoga, jnana yoga, different yogas. Topmost is bhakti yoga. So Krishna is explaining in chapter 6 what exactly it means by dhyana yoga, not closing our eyes and sitting down and trying to meditate. In Kali Yuga, our minds are very much active. It's very difficult to quieten the mind, to make it quiet. Very, very difficult. So, Dhyana Yoga, Krishna is giving knowledge about the exact process of meditation. He says that one should go to a secluded place like the mountains or the forest, lay kusha grass, put a deer skin on it, and with no possessions. Not that we take a huge check-in baggage and a hand baggage and a purse or whatever, and then go to the forest to meditate. No, we cannot even take our mobile phone. Nothing, no laptop, nothing, no social media. Just go to the forest, sit down. He says, sit erect. For us to sit erect, even for a few minutes, is so difficult, right? So sit erect. Eyes should be half open, half closed. And also, we need to look at the tip of the nose, gaze at the tip of the nose, and then start quietly meditating. Is that possible? The way to become self realized through meditation is only when we meditate for 30,000 years. We don't have that that lifespan. Maximum 100 years in Kali Yuga. So, towards the end, Arjuna is telling Krishna, hey, this is very difficult. You give up family, job, everything, go to the forest and just do dhyana. It's very difficult because mind is very chanchal, is jumping here and there all the time. So at the end of the chapter, Krishna gives a formula for meditation. He says, Yogi nam api sarvesham. Sarvesham means topmost, the best. Madgatinantaratman. That one who thinks of me within the heart. That means we can still be living in the family, still doing our job or business, have friends, relatives, whatever we do. But in the heart, in our mind, we are thinking of Krishna all the time. How do we do that? Simple process. We do mantra meditation, which is recommended in Kali Yuga, chanting the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. That is dhyana yoga. That will help us to control our mind, control our senses, and polish or make our intelligence more fulfilling. Intelligence is what controls the mind. So if intelligence is not fed with right knowledge, it's not going to control the mind. And if mind is not controlled, the senses can never be under control. So this is how Krishna explains Dhyana Yoga. Now, chapter 7 basically is giving us knowledge about four kinds of people who surrender to Krishna and four who do not. Namam dushkritino mudha. Dushkritino means miscreant. Who? Those who are grossly foolish, those whose intelligence is stolen away, those who are demoniac in nature, right? Namam dushkritino mudha, grossly foolish. Prapandyante naradama, lowest among mankind. These are the four kinds. But then the good news is he gives us knowledge about four kinds who surrender. Chatur vidha bhajante mam jana sukritino Arjuna. Sukritino means pious people. So if we are surrendering to the Supreme Lord Krishna, that means we are considered pious people. Who are those four kinds? One who is looking for money, those who want money, those who are in distress, are very sad and depressed and distressed, those who want knowledge, and those who are inquisitive. Hey, what is this Bhagavad Gita all about? Let me see. What does God have to say about it? So these are considered four kinds of pious people who surrender to Krishna. Chapter 8 talks about how to attain Krishna, because that is where there is permanent peace and permanent happiness. That is where, of course, in the spiritual world, where there is no birth, disease, old age, or death. So how to attain him? Very simple. We need to practice Krishna consciousness throughout our life. He says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajat ante kalevaram. Tam tam eveti konteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. That whoever, Krishna says, whatever is our state of mind at the time of death, to that state one will attain without fail. Which means At the time of death, if we are thinking of Krishna, we will go back to the spiritual world. This is how we can attain him, right? So it's important to understand the difference between this material world and the spiritual world. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, material world is only 1/4 of the whole creation, and the spiritual world is 3/4 of the creation. You see? So here he's showing us the process how we can go back to the spiritual world and not come back into this material world. Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartino Arjuna. Mamupetya tu kantya punar janmana vidyate. So if our goal is no more punar janma, no more coming back into this material world, then Krishna says that we need to think about him at the time of life. He says even Brahmaloka, which is a material planet, topmost material planet, even if one goes there, one has to come down, which means we have to cross across the material world and go into the spiritual world and not try to go to the heavenly planets where there's a lot of opulence now. So, thinking about Krishna at the time of death is possible if we perform mantra meditation on a daily basis, every day. Now, chapter 9 is most confidential knowledge, right? All up till now, whatever Krishna has explained to Arjuna, now he's giving him most confidential knowledge. Then one may say, hey, how is it most confidential? Anyone can pick up Bhagavad Gita and read. It's not a secret. The secret is we may be able to read it, we may be able to hear it, but not be able to understand the complete purport of Krishna's instructions. And how is that possible? That is possible. Krishna says, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Always chanting my glories. That is how we will purify our heart, our mind, our senses, our intelligence, and become qualified to go back to the spiritual world. Now, chapter 10, Krishna explains his opulences. That because when we hear about the opulences of the Lord, then we will be able to develop appreciation and love for him. He says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mataha sarvam pravartate. That everything emanates from me, Krishna says. Everything. Whether it is material planets, spiritual planets, living entities, everything comes from him. And Tesham Satatayutanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. He says, those who worship me with love and devotion, Dadami Buddhi Yogam, I give them the intelligence. Then one may say, hey, I'm already intelligent, right? I have this degree, that degree, I am, so good in this, and this. That is material intelligence. He's talking about that intelligence which is required to progress spiritually, Bhakti Yoga. How to develop those spiritual qualities. He's talking about that. So, what is the solution? If we worship Krishna with love and devotion. And the best way to worship is mantra meditation. Now, after talking about all his opulences, in chapter 11, he shows his universal form, which means he's giving us a proof that he is above everyone else. So, all up till now, theory part, and now the practicals. He's showing to Arjuna that here, look, you can see everything inside me. Now, chapter 12 is about devotional service, which is Bhakti Yoga. And he gives us many options because he knows we are lazy people. If he just gives one instruction, we may say, I'm not sure whether I'm going to do it or not. But he's giving us different options. First, he says, you fix your mind, engaging your intelligence in me. Then you will always live in me, and there is no doubt. One may say, oh, it's so difficult to fix the mind on Krishna. So he says, no problem. You follow the regulative principles. The regulative principles are given for human beings, not for animals. No meat eating, fish, eggs, onion, garlic, no intoxication tea or coffee, no illicit sex, and no gambling. These are the regulative principles given to us in the scriptures. So when we start following these regulative principles, Krishna says, then we will start getting purified and develop a desire to attain Krishna. Then one may say, oh, that's so difficult, following regulative principles. So Krishna says, no problem, work for me. When you work for me, you will come to a perfect stage, a stage of perfection. How? By giving up all the results of our activities. See, what is causing bondage for us is we want to enjoy the results of our activities. But when we change our state of consciousness and work for the pleasure of the Lord, work for Him, that will bring us to a stage of perfection. And that will help us to also be satisfied, right? That will help us. One may say, oh, that is also so difficult. Then final option Krishna gives is cultivate knowledge, which we all are doing. We are hearing the Bhagavad Gita and getting this knowledge so that we can contemplate on this knowledge and then put it into practice. Chapter 13 is about material nature. It's good to understand how does this material nature come into being, how who creates this material nature and how does it work and how does it affect us, because we are living in the material world. Chapter 14 is about modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, after explaining all the different aspects of the modes of material nature, Krishna tells Arjuna that you need to transcend these three modes. Generally people think being good is good enough. No, we need to even transcend the mode of goodness and come to the state of pure goodness. Mamcha yoga bhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samityatan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Krishna tells Arjuna. When one is performing full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, that person attains pure goodness. At once one transcends the three modes and come to the state of pure goodness. And then he gives us different explanations about how does these mode work. These modes, they affect the food that we eat. The whatever food we are putting inside our body also is divided into three modes: ignorance, passion, and goodness. Even our determination can be based on the modes on which we are operating, our understanding, our happiness, austerities we perform. Everything happens in these three different modes of material nature. How to transcend them. Chapter 15 is about yoga of the Supreme. Again, talking about the opulences of the Lord. But Krishna tells Arjuna, Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto. I'm situated in everyone's heart as a supersoul. And he says, from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So we need to choose what do we want. And based on our choice, we will face the consequences. Chapter 16 is about divine and demoniac natures. There are 26 divine qualities. And then, of course, there are many demoniac qualities too. So the reason he's explaining those is so we can think about it and see where do I fall? Do I have divine qualities or demoniac? Am I of demoniac nature? There are three gates leading to hell. Yes. Lust, anger, and greed. And Krishna says those who are wise, they avoid these three gates of hell. Chapter 17 is divisions of faith. It is talking about the austerity of the body, of the mind, of the speech. You see? And then chapter 18, finally, which we will start next Sunday, is the summary of the whole Bhagavad Gita. So right now we got an overview of chapter 1 through 17, but chapter 18 will again give us a summary where the final verse, which concludes the whole Bhagavad Gita, is Sarva dharman parityagya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami ma sucha. Krishna says, do not fear, just surrender unto me, giving up all varieties of religion. Surrender unto me, and I will clean the whole slate, remove all our past sinful reactions. And he says, do not fear, I will give you liberation. So, Bhagavad Gita can easily help one become permanently happy and permanently peaceful. But importance is to hear it in a systematic way with at least the basic faith that the Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Lord Himself. It's by the Supreme Lord Himself. See, Sri Bhagavana Uvacha. And when we start understanding Bhagavad Gita with this basic faith, our faith will start becoming firm. And then that will lead us to self realization. So, when we will follow the Bhagavad Gita, then in fact, if we surrender to the instructions of the Supreme Lord, which is His will, this is what He wants us to do, to break the cycle of birth and death and go back to the spiritual world. So, along with hearing Bhagavad Gita, to become self realized, we also need to do mantra meditation, and that is going to help us to be permanently happy and peaceful. No stress at all. Bhagavad Gita is a stress buster. It removes all the stress that we may have in our lives. So, this is how chapter 17 ends, and we will start chapter 18 from next week. So, I'm going to end now. If anyone has any questions or comments, you are welcome to ask.